I never imagined coming home early from work would shatter my life and save it at the same time. That Thursday afternoon started like any other. I'd left the marketing firm an hour early because of a migraine we both loved on 5th Street. I parked the car, walked up the porch steps of our colonial-style house in Maple Grove, and let myself in quietly so I wouldn't wake him if he was napping. That's when I heard his voice coming from the office down the hall. I froze in the doorway of the living room, my keys still in my hand. Something about his tone made me stop instead of calling out. I crept closer and pressed myself against the wall beside the office door, my heart suddenly pounding for no reason I could explain yet. "She'll never suspect a thing, baby," Ryan said, his voice low and almost amused. That plain, boring woman was never anything but a means to an end. The words hit me like a slap. I stood there, frozen, my hand pressed against my mouth to keep from making a sound. He kept talking, pacing. I could hear his footsteps on the hardwood floor. I know, just a little longer," he continued. "Once we get the signature, none of this is going to matter anymore. We'll be set for life." I slid down against the wall, my legs giving out beneath me, and listened as my husband of 6 years laughed quietly into the phone. The same laugh he used to give me on our first dates at the diner near campus. Except now, it belonged to someone else. "I never loved her. You know that," he said. "Not for one single day. It was always you, Madison. Always." Madison. The name landed like ice water down my spine. There was only one Madison in my life who Ryan would know well enough to be saying those words to. Madison Brooks, my best friend since our sophomore year at State. The woman who had stood beside me at my wedding, who had cried real tears, who had hugged me afterward and whispered, "You two are going to be so happy." I don't know how long I sat there on that floor. Long enough that my legs went numb, long enough that the late afternoon sun moved across the hallway carpet. When I finally heard him say goodbye and hang up, I scrambled back to the living room and threw myself onto the couch, closing my eyes and steadying my breath just before he walked out of the office, whistling some tune I didn't recognize. "Hey, you're home early," he said, leaning down to kiss my forehead. I let him. I even smiled. "Headache," I muttered. Needed to lie down. "Poor thing," he said, brushing my hair back. "Get some rest. I've got some errands to run." The moment his car pulled out of the driveway, I bolted upright, my mind racing. Errands. Right. I had a feeling I knew exactly where those errands were taking him. But there was something else gnawing at me, something buried in what he'd said. A signature? Set for life? Those weren't the words of a man simply having an affair. That I could have almost understood in some twisted, painful way. Affairs happened. People fell out of love. But this sounded like something bigger, something calculated. I went straight to his office, the one room in the house he always kept locked. The one room he always said was just full of boring work files. My hands were shaking as I found the spare key taped under the bottom drawer of the hallway console, a hiding spot I discovered years ago by accident and never mentioned. The office was neat. Almost too neat. Like everything in Ryan's life. I started with the desk drawers, working quickly, my ears straining for the sound of his car returning. In the bottom drawer, behind a stack of old tax returns, I found a manila folder with my name on it. Emily Carter. My maiden name, not Carter Walker, the way I'd been signing things since the wedding. Inside was a letter from a law firm in Boston, informing me that my late grandfather, Harold Whitfield, a man I'd barely known, had left behind an estate valued at over $4 million, structured in a trust that named me as the sole beneficiary. There was a power of attorney document, already filled out, already signed by a notary, waiting only for my signature to transfer full control of the trust to Ryan Walker. I sat down hard in his leather office chair, my hands trembling as I flipped through page after page. Bank statements, property deeds, emails. So many emails, printed out and tucked into the back of the folder like trophies. I opened the most recent one, dated 2 weeks earlier. It was from Ryan to Madison.
She still doesn't know about the inheritance. Once the lawyer sends the documents through me instead of directly to her, I can have her sign without even reading the fine print. She trusts me with everything. After that, it's just a matter of time before we can finally be together for real. No more hiding. Madison had replied just an hour later. I can't wait until this is over. 6 years of pretending to be her friend has been exhausting. The dinners, the birthday parties, acting like I actually care about her stupid flower obsession. Just get the signature, Ryan. Then we're free. I read it 3 times before the full weight of it settled into my bones. This wasn't just an affair. My entire marriage, maybe even my entire friendship with Madison, had been built around stealing a fortune I hadn't even known existed. Every anniversary dinner, every late-night conversation where Ryan told me how much he loved me, every moment Madison had spent curled up on my couch with a glass of wine, laughing at my jokes, had all been part of an elaborate, patient con. I called my brother Ethan that night, my voice barely steady enough to get the words out. He drove over within 20 minutes, still in his work boots from the construction site. "Em, slow down," he said, sitting across from me at the kitchen table as I spread the documents out in front of him. "Are you sure about this? This is insane." I heard him say it myself, Ethan, with my own ears. I pushed the printed emails toward him, and then I found this. He read through everything twice, his jaw tightening more with each page. We need proof, real proof, not just documents you took from his office, something a court would actually believe. "I know a lawyer," I said. "Olivia Bennett. She handled a fraud case for one of my coworkers last year." We met Olivia the next morning at her office downtown, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and an even sharper mind. She listened to everything without interrupting, occasionally jotting notes, occasionally raising an eyebrow at something particularly damning. "The inheritance is real," she confirmed after reviewing the trust documents. "I recognize this law firm. Your grandfather set this up carefully, Emily, which actually works in your favor. He built in protections most people wouldn't think to include." "So what do I do?" I asked. "You do nothing for now," Olivia said. "You go home tonight and you act exactly the way you've been acting. You smile, you laugh at his jokes, you let him believe everything is still normal. The longer he believes he's in control, the more mistakes he'll make, and we need him on record." It was the hardest performance of my life. I kissed Ryan goodnight, I asked about his day, I told him I loved him, and somehow my voice didn't crack. Olivia had me delay signing the power of attorney, claiming I wanted to think it over, and that simple delay sent Ryan into a quiet panic. Over the following 2 weeks, I watched him unwrap, and every single phone call he made to Madison from that point forward, I recorded, with Olivia's guidance, on a small device tucked into the lining of my jacket pocket whenever I happened to be in the house, fully within the bounds of state law, since I was a party present in the home. "She's stalling," Ryan hissed into the phone one night, pacing in the garage while I stood frozen by the kitchen window, my phone recording everything. "I don't know if she suspects something." "Just push her a little harder." Madison's voice came back, tinny through the speaker. "We're so close, Ryan. I'm not waiting around forever." I know. I'll get the signature by Friday. I promise. Friday came. Olivia had arranged a meeting at her office, supposedly to finalize the trust paperwork. Ryan showed up in his best suit, practically glowing with anticipation, certain that today was the day his plan would finally pay off. Madison arrived separately, claiming she just happened to be in the building, though her presence fooled no one anymore. "Emily, you ready to sign?" Ryan asked, sliding the documents across the conference table toward me, his smile almost too wide. "Actually," Olivia said, folding her hands calmly on the table, "before we finalize anything, I think there's something you both should hear." She pressed play on a recorder sitting in the center of the table. Ryan's voice filled the room. "She still doesn't know about the inheritance. I can have her sign without even reading the fine print." His face went white. Madison's hand flew to her mouth. That's taken out of context," Ryan stammered. But Olivia simply pressed play on the next recording. And the next. His own words condemning him one after another. His plotting laid bare for everyone in the room to hear. "You have the right to remain silent," came a new voice from the doorway. A detective Olivia had quietly arranged to be present, having already filed a report on suspected fraud days earlier. Ryan lost everything within months. His career at the investment firm ended the moment the fraud charges became public. He faced criminal prosecution for attempted theft and conspiracy, and Madison was charged as a co-conspirator. The divorce was finalized quickly. The inheritance secured fully in my name, with Ethan standing beside me as my closest support through every step of it. 6 months later, I stood in the doorway of my own shop on Main Street, a bell jingling above the door as I flipped the sign to open for the very first time. Carter Bloom's, the flower shop I dreamed about since I was a teenager, finally real, finally mine, built on the wreckage of everything Ryan and Madison had tried to take from me. I learned that day that the people who think they know exactly how a story will end are usually the ones who never see the ending coming.